Okay, today we're going to make some geode bath bombs. And first, I'd like to apologize ahead of time. The dogs outside are barking, so if you hear dogs barking, just ignore it. I know it drives me insane with background noise, but you can hear my neighbor's dogs barking. And I've been waiting forever, so I want to get this going. I want to show you what we're making today. Hopefully the camera focuses and picks this up. This is my geode bath bomb. And I've made these before in just a regular bath bomb mold. I want to show you something that I found that you might like, that you might find easier. And that's because it helps place the center of it. And it's bakeable by... this is Sweet Creations. Now I found mine cheaper at Hobby Lobby, but I've only seen it there once. I go there all the time. But you can get these on Amazon, so I'll put the link on it. On the Amazon link in the description below. And anything else that I show you, I'm always going to give you the link if I can. This pan I really like because I can do, first of all, 6 of them, and you can see the pan. Now each pan holds 3/4 of a cup when it's full, and then to this fill line is a 1/2 cup, to give you an idea. Also, what I do like is it's got the flat bottom on it, because geode bath bombs have a tendency to be top heavy, and they fall over all the time. And with the bottom being flat, and I'll show you, try not to break them. They've set out for 24 hours. See how it's got the flat spot? You can set them down, and then I'm going to package these. Let me show you here in a cup, just to kind of protect them. Put this down in a clear cup, and then that way the clear cup, everyone can see, you know, the whole bath bomb and everything, and it looks neat this way. You can protect it. These are just from the dollar store, the Dollar Tree. And then the crystals go in the center like a geode does. This, I'm sure that you can also multi-purpose. You can do half bath bombs, decorate them, whatever you want to do. You can put the halves together. Now the other side, the top of it too, is a ball. So you could actually make multiple bath bombs if you wanted to put like shower steamers in here, or half bath bombs. You don't have to make a full one if you want. And when the two go together, as you see on the picture, it makes like a bowl or an indent. The hardest that I had when I was making the geodes is trying to make the edge and trying to make it even all the way around. Now, of course, obviously, I have some of these. I made some the other day. And the basic recipe that I had only fills up 4. So I'm going to take and up that recipe a little bit so that I can get all 6. So we're going to try doing all 6 today. You can adjust the recipe. You can do 2, you can do 1. It doesn't matter. Now what I do ahead of time, just so that you know, this is the purple that I'm using. And I put a mix of Epsom salt, and this is just ordinary rock salt, water softener salt that you can get at Home Depot. It's clean, but this is a half and half mix. I also have the Poly 80 in here with my mica, and I use a variety of brands that I get from Amazon. This is one of them, Slice of the Moon. Mica, I am going to switch to like Nurture soaps or something like that, so I can buy everything in one place. But I'm going to use up what I have to start with anyway. These containers I get at Gordon Food Service, and I love them because they're the pints. They have the pints, the half pints. I'm sure you've seen them in the delis. But anyway, I mix this up ahead of time, and I put the Poly 80 in. You should always use Poly 80, especially when you're using micas. It's an emulsifier. It helps the mica bond to your product, whatever it is that you're making, your soaps, your bath bombs, whatever that you're making, so that it doesn't stain you or your tub or anything like that. Since I know I have to use it automatically, I put it in here. And then since I decorate a lot of stuff, I've got multiple ones of these. For the ring on that, I actually use Himalayan salt, and I cut the labels out and actually tape them on there so I know what they are. And I did add a little bit of pink mica to this just to make it look a little more pink. And then my poly 80's in here, but this is Himalayan salt. And I have containers. I have some for every color. The red's pretty bright. And it allows me to pre-mix all my micas, and then when I'm doing bath bombs, I already have it all made up. But I have, you know, one of every color. Anyway, we're going to use the pink and the purple today. Excuse me. Now, this recipe is the basic 1 cup, and it did 4. So I'm going to do 1.5 cups of baking soda. The other thing that I do is when I get my SLSA, now you don't have to use SLSA. I save the original labels and everything. Now I put mine in a container because I don't like to pour it. It's volatile, which means that it's a very fine dust. If you get this in your lungs, it'll make you cough really bad. So I like to put it in the container, and then instead of pouring something into a measuring cup, I can scoop it out and then gently pour it in the bowl, and it's not so bad. That way I don't have to take the mask off and on or anything like that. This recipe that I have right now calls for a low amount. These, because they're so heavy and they have the salt, they're going to sink a lot. That's the other thing too, is this is not going to be, it's the Epsom salt, because there's so much on there, it's not the kind of bath bomb. A lot of bath bombs, they have like a lot of bubble to them. Then you're kind of getting into the bubble bar. That's where it has more of the SLSA. That's what the SLSA does, is it makes foam and bubble. So you can use, you don't have to use it, you can use milk powder or something like that. To make it hard, I also put in cream of tartar. Now, since I've increased this recipe, I'm going to put 3 tablespoons cream of tartar. Now, I'm going to do my cream of tartar first, and then I'm going to put the SLSA on top of it. 1, 2, 3. And it's not exactly like baking. It is, but it isn't. It doesn't have to be exact. So I'm going to put 1.5 tablespoons of the SLSA. And like I said, I prefer to do it this way so that I'm not pouring, and then I don't have to put a mask on. It's not, it doesn't contain that much, so it doesn't bother me that much. But it's a very fine powder, and it has a tendency to fill the air. So it's 1.5 tablespoons, and then I close it. Then the citric acid, I'm going to put that on top. It takes 3/4 of a cup. And let's see. Let's see if I got a 1/4 cup. That's a 1/3. It also helps to keep the moisture out of these too. Now, the baking soda is 1.5 cups. So we're just going to sift this really quick. And I know the SLSA is in the bottom, but we're putting something on top of it, so it's not too bad. As you can see, there's like a plume. That will make you cough. We're going to put 1.5 cups. That's why you sift. See all the lumps? Now once the baking soda, once I've used enough, I'm going to put it in another one of those containers. Simply because I don't want baking soda to pick up odors and stuff. We want it to smell good. Not like everything else. I'm sure you've seen your mom put the baking soda in the refrigerator or something to absorb odors, or you've seen the commercials where it absorbs the odors. You don't want to do that. So we're going to put it in an airtight container. Now some of these granules are too big. Okay, we're going to make sure that our dry ingredients are mixed together before we add our liquid. Once you add the liquid ingredients, that's when it starts to clump up. So it's easier if you have all your dry ingredients mixed together. And this is just a basic recipe. If you want, you can skip ahead if you already know, if you already make bath bombs. It's just the basic recipe. There's nothing spectacular about it. A lot of the goodies are in the rock salt. Because I'm also going to use the rock salt to use coconut oil to help hold the rock salt on. Now for the fragrance, we need 1.5 tablespoons. Now this typically doesn't, and it's one instance where you don't really go by weight. I'm trying to measure and talk at the same time. So that's our fragrance, our light oil. We're going to use 2.5 tablespoons. And I'm using almond oil. You can use anything as long as it's a liquid. Just one. This is what's going to bind it all together. 2.5 is the oil. And like I said, now if you want to color your bath bomb, the base of these I'm just making white. But if you want to color it, that's where you also need to put an equal amount of poly 80 to go mix it with the fragrance first before you put it in here. And then that way the mica, or whatever you use, colorant, doesn't stick to you or the bathtub. It sticks to, and poly 80 is an emulsifier. It makes everything bind with the oil that's in the bath bomb. So that oil we just put in there, you can mix all your wet ingredients together and then put them all in here. Now we are going to put some alcohol in here. We need 3/4 tablespoon. And I sanitize everything with 91% alcohol. I wouldn't use 70%. I always use 90% or higher. Now water is what causes the activation. So as long as you're using alcohol or witch hazel, you're fine. We're going to use 3/4 tablespoon of alcohol. Now if you find that your air is drier or whatever, and that it's not quite wet enough, because we're going to mix this, we're going to use our hands too, because this, if it's not quite wet enough, you can spritz it with the alcohol. I have a sprayer that I keep on mine just for that reason. You know, I spray things down with alcohol. Everything's sanitized. Now this is it gives you, this recipe gives you a pretty good consistency. I always double check and make sure that I didn't forget anything. Nothing worse than making something and forget and realize you forgot something. But if you look at the consistency, you can see that when you squeeze it, it keeps its shape. That's what you want. You don't want it too wet, but you want it mixed thoroughly, because as you can see, when I first put in fragrance and everything else, it was kind of lumpy. That's okay, because we're going to mix it all together. Now this bath bomb is going to be heavy, because it's going to have the salt on the top, and that's the other reason, you know, the flat spot works out so well, I think, is because it's a heavy bath bomb. They have a tendency to roll over, but I just take a measuring cup and I try not to make so much of a mess. It's hard not to. We're going to put equal parts in here. We're not going to pat it down just yet, because we want all the bath bombs to be about the same size. So we're going to fill it up first. And for those of you that are a little younger than I am, in case you didn't know, these handles on this bowl are meant to be a spout. Little trivia there. And I think everyone knows when you're making bath bombs, it kind of gets messy. But we're going to gently pack. You're not going to pack too tight. If you want your bath bomb to sit on top of the water and spin, then don't pack it too tight. The tighter you pack it, the more it sinks. Some of these, even though I measured. Now we're going to get, you know, kind of around the edges, and we're going to close this up, and you're going to see they're going to be all a little different. The other reason that I like, and I'll put the recipe in the description too, exactly what I used. Whoops. This is going to leave a little dent, and it helps me. There's some lines on the side that you line up and you press down. And it doesn't make, you know, a huge dent, but it helps me. And if you have a hard time figuring out, you know, where to put them, see the dents. Now I know that that's where my salt is going to go. For the purple, we're just going to take another spoon. I don't want to, you always, and whenever you reach into your containers, you always want to get a clean spoon. And we're just going to put this on top. You can hear my dog snoring. That's Roxy. She's old. So I try to cut her some slack. But if you look at a geode, now I'm going to try to make these two with some activated charcoal so that they're darker. And before you take these out, let them dry overnight in the container, because they are, like I said, this is a wet recipe. And they'll crumble, because the when you're making geodes, the salt on the top of it compared to the rest of it is pretty heavy. And these are just pink and purple. You can definitely make these whatever you want. You can use blue, green, whatever you want. It's your own creation. Geodes are not, if you've ever seen a geode, they're not perfect. It's the way Mother Nature made them. I'm trying not to make them like, well, obviously it's not a real geode, but you don't want them to look too fake. But I think that these, if I use our activated charcoal, which I'm out of, I don't have any, they'll be a blacker color, and they'll actually look like a rock. If you've ever seen a real geode, you know, that looks like they're a rock. So we're gonna be, I know right now it looks like there's more pink, but I'm going to show you here. That's okay. I'm going to cover my lids back up. Now I'm going to press this down. And I want to make sure that everyone gets a happy piece. And some of these, when you do take them out, I have to warn you, the salt comes off. So what we're going to do, we're going to take and melt some coconut oil, just a little bit, to help keep this on. And in place, because coconut oil at room temperature is solid. And it's going to give our bath bomb a nice seal. That way, let me put this in the microwave for, I've got like a couple of tablespoons of coconut oil that I put in. I love these, they're my anchor. I get these at the dollar store as well. And I use popsicle sticks a lot, because if you'll see, this one I'm going to pop back in the microwave for 10 seconds just to soften it up. And then I'm going to use the popsicle stick to put some, let's see if this is enough. Not quite, almost. I want it to be a little runny. It might be okay. I don't want it to be too soupy, what I did before when it was too soupy. This is not quite enough. It takes like 5 seconds. All it did was like run to the bottom of it. like I said, coconut oil. There we go. Now, if you use anything like olive oil, I mean, you certainly could. It's not gonna solidify again on you. So what happens? I'm just gonna drizzle this. Is there's nothing to help hold this on here. I'm gonna kind of stir it around a little bit. Drizzle. Because this is going to help to hold the top layer of the salt in place. Otherwise, it's just going to come off. And that's one of the reasons too, whoops, that I'm putting them in the cups. And you can also shrink wrap these if you want. And to get that glisten, I'm going to, that's why I put everything in a container. I always get something on here. I'm going to put some biodegradable glitter to make it really sparkle, because if you ever look at a geode and you turn it in the light, it has that sparkle to it. Right now they kind of have this flat look, like a muted. I think it's a pretty purple. I don't know, my camera's not the best. The coconut oil will sit down and soak down in there. But you kind of want it to dry out and stay on there. You really don't want it to like come off. So anyway, I have, I also get this on Amazon. Some places, if you've got things that are local to you, that's what it's the Hala Glow Glitter. It's biodegradable. It's for soaps, bath bombs, stuff like that. Let's see. Popsicle stick. I use popsicle sticks for everything. All wooden sticks. They're great. They're disposable, readily available. We're just going to put a little bit of glitter on to give it that glow. Everything's better with glitter. Got to have glitter. And then we're going to kind of move it around to give it some dimension. Again, as you can see now, moving everything around, you don't have so much that ring, that fake looking. And everybody's seen rocks. They're not, you know, symmetrical. They're not perfect spheres. And you can see the coconut, when that hardens back up, it'll help hold the rocks in place and help hold it on. If you want, you can gently push it down. Now when these are dry, close this black back up. Last thing we want is glitter everywhere. If you've ever had to clean up glitter, it's not real fun. So, clean this up a little bit. Once these are dry tomorrow, these are geode bath bombs. Once they're dry, you can take some mica, the gold mica, and put some on the ring of it on the outside edge. All I did was take my mica, and like I said, I'll put links to it, put it in a little dish with some alcohol. Now yes, this is going to evaporate. It's not nearly as runny as what it was. If you make it too runny, it's just going to run down the edge. I saved my little containers. All you have to do later on is add alcohol to it and it'll come right back. and then paint it around the edge, and that's your bath bombs. This recipe I'll post in the description. Made 4 of them. Let's not roll it away. That's what they look like, and see how they glisten? Isn't that pretty? Now who doesn't want that? Everything, I am going to set up an online store. I might go with Etsy and put it all on the Etsy store. That way, if you'd like, you can buy anything that I make. It'll be available to you. So thanks for watching, and stay creative and make something fun today. And we'll see you next time.